Welcome back. We're here for another episode of Two Plane Sports. This one is our recruiting edition one. Another update on a few players. Chris McClellan, Hero Canoe, and Javonte Barnes. Those are going to be the three guys we're covering today, all in the 2022 class. If you hadn't seen our update last week, definitely go check that out. Some good information and opinions on stuff that's going on with recruiting. Before we get into today's recruiting video, we'd like to just say, we really appreciate the support. We enjoy, talking back and forth with you on the comments. We appreciate all the likes, different opinions, hearing from what everyone else has got to say on various players and various topics. We really appreciate it. If you hadn't already, make sure to hit that subscribe button. It really helps us, and the notification bell for all the videos that we're going to release, so you can see them as they come out when we premiere them. Make sure to comment and let us know what you think, and follow us on our social medias at Two Plane Sports. So the first guy, and this couple of these guys, actually probably all of them, we've talked about them in videos over the last couple months. Just kind of now it's new information, going through new things. One of the guys that most people from Oklahoma that follows any bit of high school sports knows a little bit about, or have at least heard about him, is Chris McClellan. He's the number 101 overall and number 18 defensive lineman in the 2022 class. Massive guy, 6'3", 295 pounds, out of Owasso High School. Another in-state kid that the Sooners are trying to land. Basically, if you hadn't seen him play, he's massive. Like I said, he's almost 300 pounds. So he could really be plugged into the defensive line right now, in the interior defensive line, which is kind of crazy to think about. He's going against high school players right now. Going back and talking about kind of his recruiting, he's visited, him and Gentry Williams are pretty close. It seems like they went and visited the Gators together. Then they went and visited with the USC Trojans. And if everyone remembers, after that Trojan visit, Gentry Williams, we thought he might be going USC, ended up working out in the Sooners' favor. But it seemed like Chris McClellan really kind of fell in love with Florida. He's also visited Ohio State, but that was actually before all the Florida visit, and he fell in love with the Buckeyes. That was early in the summer. A lot of people thought he was going to commit, or maybe he might have silently committed or not with the Buckeyes, but he never announced it officially. And that connection, it seems like it's moved on. Both parties have kind of stopped. He's visited Oklahoma multiple times unofficially. I don't know if he's been on an official visit with the Sooners, being so close. And recently, if anyone's been following, the Gators are kind of starting to clean a little bit of house right now. They fired the Florida defensive coordinator, Todd Grantham, offensive line coach John Havesi, I think that's how you say it. So there's a little turmoil there, and Dan Mullen's kind of getting some hot water. Before I keep going, Jose, what do you think about the impacts of, firing their defensive coordinator, and what you think about the Gators going on right now?
Yeah, it seems to have made a huge impact. I'm sure you're probably going to get to it, but Chris was actually supposed to commit today, I believe, originally November 10th, and the commitment didn't go through. And I see that as a good thing for Oklahoma, because if all these firings for the University of Florida have happened over the last week or so, and if he changed his mind on committing today, he must have been going Gators. And all those firings are probably getting him to really think about it. And because at the end of the day, we have to think about it. These kids are being recruited by the coaches, and they might, feel welcomed by the players when they go visit. But at the end, the coaches are who they're kind of being sold to, in a way. It sounds kind of bad, but the coaches are selling themselves. And if the coaches are no longer there, there's no attraction, unless he just really loved Gainesville and that was his main motivator for being in Florida. But if he loved Florida, if his parents want him to go visit every once in a while, with Oklahoma going to the SEC soon, he'll be there every couple of years. But having a guy like that's going to be big once we do transition to the SEC, being so massive, because the way he carries his weight, he takes up a lot of space. He just a wide dude. mean, 6'3", you see another guy we're going to mention later, Hero Canoe. He's about the same weight, but he's a couple inches taller. So the size difference is stature wise is a couple inches, but they carry the same weight. So they just move a lot differently. And Chris is going to be more of the run stopper guy, kind of like a Perry on Winfrey now, if we want to compare him to someone that we have on the roster. So it would definitely be beneficial to have him. Hopefully he makes his commitment soon. I know he was just named to the All-American Bowl. So, I mean, he's a very decorated high school player, and it seems like it's going to be down to the wire. And really, does Florida decide to can Dan Mullen over the next couple weeks?
Yeah. And you're 100% right. For whatever reason, I just had this gut feeling that it seemed like he's been looking for reasons to leave the state of Oklahoma and go play college ball, whether with the Buckeyes or with the Gators. And it just seems like it hasn't worked out. I don't know what happened with Ohio State. I don't know if they got a commitment and he just kind of got cold feet. And then now you got this going on with, Florida firing a few people, potentially losing another guy or two. And you go back and you talked about you're getting sold on the coach and you're doing that. And I know a lot of people want to say you're committing to the university, you're committing to the football program. To some degree you are. You're right, but here's the deal. Just because you're going to, think back at OU 3 or 4 years ago, that defense with Mike Stoops, it was just a fire, dumpster fire and everything. Just because Oklahoma is a big brand and it's it's recognized everywhere, that doesn't mean you want to go play defensive back for OU that it's historically has one of the worst defenses ever that year. You're being sold to those coaches because, I mean, you think about it, you're with them every single day in the season, in the off season, you're still working with them, maybe not quite as much, but it's every single, all year long, you're with those guys. And how unstable it is in Florida. I mean, you've got to think that he's getting cold feet, because even if Dan Mullen holds on to his job this year and Chris, chooses to go there, the odds of Dan Mullen getting fired next year, if they get off to a rocky start, is extremely high. If he somehow makes it through the rest of this season and into, beginning of next season. I personally, I'm not even talking about going to Oklahoma. I mean, if he wants to go play somewhere else, just don't go play for Florida. Go play for someone that is stable. That's never good. You look at the University of Texas with the instability of all their coaches and the just drama. It shows on the field. And so I do think he was going to be a Gator. And with this, I think it's playing in the Sooners' favor. And I'd like to think if they lose one more time, he's going to be a Sooner. And so his commitment now is going to be coming at any time now. I would imagine in the next week, maybe 2 weeks. I don't know, but he's going to be an early enrollee. So he'll be going wherever he's going in January. He's going to sign on National Signing Day on December 15th. So we're about a month away from that. So I'd imagine it's going to be the next week or two, because as we inch closer to that National Signing Day, these spots are going to fill up. And like you said, we're going to talk about Hero Canoe. I think they take both those guys. But I do think that Chris McClellan and Hero Canoe, whoever jumps on board first, is going to factor into the other person's decision.
Yeah. And on the Ohio State stuff with Chris, I would probably guess that it had to do with the commitment they got from the 2021 guy with the number one overall recruit.
Tuamalo, JTT.
Yeah, something like that. I mean, he's a defensive tackle too. So I mean, and they're freaking full with defensive line talent. But
yeah, Larry Johnson's got it rolling up there.
Yeah, so I mean, probably a lot of competition up there. And I mean, if he's not afraid of it, then by all means go for it. If I were a defensive lineman and not going to, like, if I didn't have like a dream school, like if his dream wasn't to be a Sooner and it's just at the best situation, then why not Ohio State? Luckily he is in Oklahoma, and I think for his position we've done really well over the last few years. I mean, Perry on we've got right now, we've got Perrion, Redmond, Ellison, and Coe. And then we just added Dindy for this 22 recruiting class. And if we can add Canoe and him, and we also have Kelvin Gilliam, which we forget about sometimes, but that guy is very explosive and plays in the middle of the line. So that defensive tackle room is starting to get full with talent, and it might soon be kind of like a wide receiver situation. Get your spot quick, because those scholarships aren't there forever. And if we can move that scholarship to a defensive back, which is a position that, I mean, the more the merrier, really. And if we're full at defensive tackle, I mean, at that point it's his loss, and he's going to be going down to what school will still take me. I don't think that'll be the case for this year, but I can see that happening in the future for like 2023, 2024 classes in that position.
Yeah, I mean, McClellan and Canoe are talents that the Sooners, if they want to both commit to them, you can't turn them away. You find them the scholarships one way or another. But yeah, I would like to think, with the instability of Florida, seems like Ohio State's moved on, and how close he is with a lot of the Oklahoma commits in the state of Oklahoma, with Gentry Williams and Jaden Rowe, and Robert Spears Jennings. They're all kind of buddies, they're all in the Tulsa area. I just think it's like this whole Gentry Williams, where we were kind of worried, in the summertime. I just think the stability and how familiar it is with them, I think that's just going to win out in the end. That's my gut feeling. I don't really know. I would like to think he might have been a Gator if there was some stability out there and they were winning. But you know what? Sometimes you need a little bit of luck and some things to go your way in recruiting. And if that's what it takes, I'm not upset. So, but
yeah, 100%. Luckily, Florida is just, they're kind of putting themselves in a hole for recruiting, because the only way I could see him going to Florida at this point, and it's a name you mentioned off air, is David Turner, their defensive line coach. And I'm assuming that's probably one of the main recruiters for Chris right now for coming out of Florida. If somehow some booster gets to him, or someone in some way gets some information that, hey, if Dan Mullins can't, David Turner is going to be our next head coach. Because right now I think he's an assistant head coach and defensive line coach. So that would be the only reason at this point I see him going to Florida, because if Dan Mullins canned and they don't retain David Turner, then there's no reason to go back there, because then you're rebuilding a culture. Like, and you mentioned it when a second ago. I mean, at the end of the day, yes, you're supposed to be going for the school and the football team, but the culture is what the coaches put together. And the prime example at Oklahoma, Alex Grinch has completely turned around the culture for the defense overall. And while it might not be the perfect defense right now, it's a hell of a lot better than it was when Mike Stoops had it his last few years. And it's going to keep improving as we get guys like Dindy and hopefully McClellan and Hero Canoe over the next few years.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, if you see the defensive line coach get fired, they're at that point, I think Florida is totally out. Like I think that they're holding on like by a thread right now.
Yeah, and I mean, at this point, I don't see them making a move of firing Dan Mullen or David Turner until after the 15th, which is the first day of National Intent Day. And after that, I mean, the school will do whatever it takes to get them out if they really want them out, because the kids are committed. They can't move off of that commitment anymore. And it's kind of like entrapment in a way, but they're playing the game. And that's what the kids have to look at. Over the next month and a half, does my coach have the potential to get fired, or will he leave for a head coaching job or whatever? And I think it's safe to say, as of now, Oklahoma is extremely stable at position coaches, coordinators, and especially head coach. Lincoln's not going anywhere for a long time.
Yeah, and since the Texas Tech position has been filled, that threat for Grinch is gone. But that's not to say that TCU might not open up, or a few other places that will fire at the end of the year. Their coaches might open up, but I don't know. It'll be fine.
Yeah,
it'll work out in the Sooners' favor. I don't think I have anything else to add, other than I think we could see before Thanksgiving, we could see a commitment one way or another, but I would like to think that the Sooners are in a good spot.
Yeah.
We've kind of alluded to him and kind of talked about him a little bit. Is Hero Canoe. He's the number 92 overall player, number 15 defensive lineman in the 2022 class. He's 6'5", 293 pounds, out of Rancho Santa Margarita, California. This guy, he's another interior defensive lineman, huge guy, extremely high motor. He's only played football for a couple of years, and because he's originally from Germany, I believe his parents still live in Germany, and he lives, he's kind of transferred here, and they come and visit him every so often. And I don't really know the whole background of how he got here, but I know, he's not originally from the United States. So he's only got a couple years experience. So this is a guy that already is being recruited at a high level, highly ranked, and he's only got a couple years experience. This kid's going to improve probably tremendously over the next couple years, whatever program he ends up at. He recently visited Ohio State. He's been there multiple times over the course of the last few months. And he's planning to announce at the All-American game. And so that's coming up in January. I don't think he's going to be an early enrollee, but he's just going to announce. I'm not sure if he's signing early or not. It'll be something to watch, which would be nice if he did sign early just to lock it in. He is planning to visit Georgia, though, coming up. I believe it's in the next week or two or so. And it'll be interesting to see if anything changes with that visit, because it seems like he's recently visited Oklahoma as well. I think it was for the TCU game, I believe. He came out there, and he with his mom, and he loved it. And that was his second visit, I believe, with the Sooners. And it seems like he's just was at home and really enjoyed it. But he's been to Ohio State multiple times as well, and he probably feels really comfortable up there as well. And I know the Sooners have some of their position coaches have made a visit to him in the last week or so. Actually went out to California to see him during the bye week. So he went and visited Ohio State, and he came home, and the Sooners were there waiting on him to see him and kind of slow the roll of the Buckeyes. So it seems like Canoe is a really highly regarded and targeted prospect that the Sooners are going after. What do you think about him?
I mean, this dude is massive. You said so. He's 6'5", 298, I think, right now, and he's 17, 18 years old. Like, I can't imagine being that big or that at that age and it be like athletic. And the fact that he's only played at least football in the States for only a few years, like that kind of speaks to his raw athleticism, because his only offers right now are from Power 5 universities. It wasn't like small schools found him first, and then as time went on, he started getting these big universities' attention. Like from day one, it seemed like he was going to a major program. It was just a matter of which one. And luckily, Oklahoma was up there. I'll be interested to see how much European guys are involved in his recruitment. I know for basketball, we just got Benny Schroeder, and he's originally from Germany as well. So I don't know if like Lincoln will link up with Porter Moser and see like, hey, can you like connect my guy with Benny, to maybe like they can create a relationship and a friendship that will help him feel more comfortable in Norman. Because I mean, I'm sure moving from Germany, if his family's here or not, I'm sure it was scary at first, and moving to Oklahoma is probably going to be just as intimidating, because it's not like there's much in Norman outside of the university. So hopefully I think that kind of stuff will pay dividends if they do, because creating a familiar environment, something that's comfortable for someone coming from so far away, not meaning California, a completely different country, is going to be pay off in the long run, I believe. But just athleticism wise and what he can bring to the football field is going to be great. I see him kind of playing like a Jalen Redmond. Definitely a very impactful player, but he's going to be essential to a pass rush in the middle of the line. And he's got a lot of great guys that'll help him out on the edge to to really progress his talent and move on to the next level. He's got the size. It'll just be like every high school player. Can you get used to the scheme that your coach is implementing, and can you get used to the size of player you're playing against? Because like it or not, it doesn't matter if you're playing across from a freshman or a senior at the college level. Those guys were the biggest guys in their high school area, and they dominated in their high school area more than likely, just like you did. I mean, in high school, you're probably playing against 15-year-olds when you're 18. Like, you're literally a man playing against kids. So it's just like every high school athlete, but this guy's got the size to do it quick, and hopefully he does. And I think the Sooners have a good chance at him from what is being reported and all over the message boards and by the I don't know what scouts or predictors. I'm not really sure what Steve Wiltfong's actual title is, but it seems like he's very heavy leaning towards Oklahoma right now, and hopefully that just stays true.
Yeah, I mean, you look at, so Chris McClellan is 6'3", 295, Hero Canoe 6'5", 293, and then you've got Brownlow Dindy, who's 6'3", 280. That, I mean, those are all kids that are seniors in high school, and at that size, they can all get plugged into the defensive line if they needed to for the Sooners, this Saturday. And these three guys, obviously we have one committed. If we get McClellan and Canoe to commit to the Sooners, that size is going to help the transition in the SEC. That's going to be laying the foundation to help us get over that hump, because they might get on campus and be about the same weight. They might beef them up to 305, 310, 315, just depending on wherever they, that perfect athleticism, the speed and how big you are, 5 or 10 pounds more or less, give it, whichever way they need to go with it. I mean, you get over 300 pounds and you're an interior defensive lineman, you can still pass rush. That's what the Sooners are going to need. And whether the Sooners in the SEC in 2023 or 2022, 23, 24, 25, whatever it is, these guys will be on campus most likely. And it's going to help tremendously. So I think McClellan and Canoe, the odds of getting both of them, I would say, are probably not great. I mean, it's just tough to really expect that both these guys will commit pretty quick and are okay with having both, each other there. And, they might be able to go somewhere else, that they might be able to get a little clearer path to playing time. So ideally, they both commit to the Sooners. I think most likely it's going to be one of the two. And my gut is telling me it's going to be McClellan that's going to be a Sooner rather than Canoe, just ever so slightly. But I really think it's a coin flip at that. It's just first come, first serve. And it seems like McClellan is probably going to announce over the next few weeks. So it might be that McClellan secures a spot and then Canoe's like, well, I can go play for the Buckeyes and I feel like I got a spot there. But then again, we talked about how much talent they've got there. So I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see.
Yeah, and we can't forget, in the 2022 class, we have 2 defensive tackle commits, I believe. Obviously, Dindy, and then Cedric. I can't remember his last name, but he's coming out of Texas.
Cedric
Roberts. So, and he's also a good defensive tackle. Like, I think right now he's a 3 or 4 star, so obviously not as highly rated as a Dindy or McClellan or even a Hero Canoe, but the guy's very talented. And I think at this point, taking 3 is great. If we get all 4 is amazing. But if we get, I'm going to disagree that McClellan seems to be the more secure one. I mean, we mentioned it when we were talking about him a second ago. It seems like he's looking for a reason to leave Oklahoma, which good for him. Obviously, he doesn't want to stay at home. That's just not what he wants for his college experience. If he does stay in Oklahoma, amazing, and I'm sure he'll love it. I mean, I was in that same position when I was his age. Obviously different scenario. I'm not getting recruited by a football program, but I think Canoe would also bring just a different feel. Like the size that this man has is big, and it's going to be impactful. Again, either one of them having a 300 plus pound defensive tackle is going to be big once we move to the SEC. I just like Canoe a little better, but I mean, getting either one of them, I'll be content with. Again, we've said it a few times over the last few videos that we do on recruiting. If you told us 3 years ago when we were in school that we were going to be in contention for five-star, 4-star, top 100 recruits at the defensive line position, we probably would have thought you were high and just on something, because it seemed unbelievable. Reggie Grimes was a big get at the time, and now he would have been obviously still big, but getting a guy like Dindy would have overshadowed Reggie Grimes at the time.
Yeah, I mean it's crazy how much of the jumps over the last 3 years, and I still think there's more jumps to make that the Sooners will, as long as Grinch stays and that move to the SEC happens. I think you're going to see the Sooners go to the next level, which is going to be um, exciting to see what the Sooners can do to have a good offense and a good defense. So we'll see. We're going to definitely keep you guys up to date. Stay on Twitter. We're going to try to stay on top of their commitments and when they announce, and we'll provide some reaction if and when we see one. So final guy we're going to cover today, we've talked about him before over the last few months, is Javonte Barnes. He's the number 112 overall recruit, number 10 running back, sorry, not defense, in the 2022 class. 6 foot, 190 pounds, out of Desert Pines High School in Las Vegas, who were teammates with DeAndre Moore Jr., who's the Sooners commit now, who plays for Los Amalitos. If you haven't seen him play, he's a home run hitting back, can catch the ball out of the backfield. And it seems like he's under the mindset of he doesn't want to be the bell cow. He's fine with being a running back by committee. He wants to be fresh. He doesn't want to take all the unnecessary hits in college if he can have another great running back with him, running a 2-back or even a 3-back scheme that Lincoln Riley seems to love. Just to keep him fresh, that he wants to win, but he also wants to be ready for the NFL, which, to be honest with you, to realize that and being willing to go into a situation with a lot of other talent, it takes a lot, because a lot of kids and a lot of guys don't want any part of that, and they want to be the guy. So, which is a good thing to hear. And if he has to be the guy, then I'm sure he would be. If someone got hurt, he'd step right in. He's planning to visit Iowa State for the Iowa State game, which is on the 20th of this month, and which will be his final visit. I believe he's committing and signing on the National Signing Day. I'm not sure if when his official commitment, but I believe he's signing early, which is going to be good. He's recently visited Alabama and Florida State, which I know anyone that's been following the recruiting for running back recruiting over the last couple of years, when you hear a potential running back visiting Alabama, it kind of gives you a little bit of anxiety, PTSD. I know it does for me. But it just seems like he's left the OU visit for the last one for a reason. He's, gone to these other schools, and yeah, I mean, it is Alabama at the end of the day, but it seems like he's doing this on purpose. And I think he might have his mind made up, as long as this visit goes well and the Sooners look good and, the final boxes are checked and whatnot. I assume the Sooners are going to pull this one through. What do you think?
Yeah, so we haven't talked about it in a while, but in the summer when we were doing a lot of recruiting stuff, I mean, DeMarco Murray was showing how important he was, and this was one of the guys that he was really impactful with. Because for a while, he didn't really have a solid where he was going. It seemed like he was still very open to all his options. And then once we started getting commitments from Raleek, and then we got one from Gavin, that's when it seemed like, okay, Javonte, like you said, his mindset is, I'm really trying to take bell cow hits in college. Like my goals are for the NFL, which is awesome. And having that kind of mentality coming to Oklahoma is big time, because we don't run a bell cow system with the running backs. It's just always running back committee, no matter how talented the running backs are. We had P, Ryan, and Mixon, and those guys shared time. And in like 2 or 3 years, if we do have Gavin, Raleek, and Javonte, it might be a three-back system. Who knows? We're moving it down to two receivers, three running backs, or quote unquote gadget guy with Raleek playing slot / running back / whatever. He can do it all. It seems like he's got that kind of breakaway speed, and Javonte's kind of the bigger dude in that group of three, because Gavin is, I think he's 5'11" or just shy of 6 feet, but he's not like massive size wise or weight wise. I think Javonte's got him by a little bit. So having a guy like Javonte will add that different dimension, that because Gavin brings a little bit more agility, and he can break down and get past someone. Really, he's just super fast, and obviously he can do the same as Gavin with breaking people down. But Javonte's got more of a, I'm going to run you over and you're not getting in my way. It's going to hurt if you do get in my way kind of mentality.
Yeah. And talking about that trio that potentially the Sooners can have, obviously they already have 2 commits right now, and he could be the third one. Looking into next year, I mean, immediately, I would assume Kennedy Brooks is going to go to the NFL. Someone will draft him probably in the middle of the rounds. I mean, he's obviously shown that a year off, he's got all the rust knocked off and he's rolling now. And he's kind of more of the featured back right now. So you look at who's going to be there. Obviously, Eric Gray will be there. You bring in these 3 guys, there's going to be opportunities to join the mix right away, because, you've got Jaden Knowles, Marcus Major, which Marcus Major will still be there as well, which Major might really fill in and could fill up quite a few snaps. But you never know. I mean, a guy like Sawchuk or a guy like Barnes might come in and just really wow. There's going to be opportunities for these kids to play immediately this next fall, in fall of 22. So that has to also be appealing for them, unless there's a big transfer portal guy that comes out, someone that you wouldn't expect to leave. I really think that's something we're going to see this off season. Is we're going to see some people enter the transfer portal that we didn't expect, and that it could really help shore up some rosters, not just for the Sooners, but everyone across the country.
Yeah, and Javonte Barnes, I think his decision will impact how Oklahoma will recruit over the next couple of years with regards to the running back. Because right now, like you said, after this year, we'll only have Eric Gray as like a top end back, and then Marcus Major obviously will finally be back. Hopefully, knock on wood, nothing happens to him health wise, but we're down to 2 after this year. And yeah, we've got Weatherman Jay and and probably other walk-ons. But if we can get 3 backs next year, or for the 2022 class, right now we only have 1 for the 2023 and Trayon Webb, and I would doubt that we would try to get another one after that. We'd probably just look at the transfer portal in 2023 at that point to just refill after Eric Gray leaves for the draft, if that's where he ends up going, or grad transfer, or whatever happens. But if Javonte does not commit to Oklahoma, which at this point seems unlikely from what I've seen, but if he doesn't, then the coaches will be putting their heads down, and DeMarco will be out in Vegas again, probably looking for the next big running back. It seems like he loves, and people love him in Vegas. And I guess really in Nevada overall, but in the Vegas area, people seem to love him and really take to his personality there.
Yeah, I mean, being from Vegas, I mean, he's got those roots, and he just loves it out there, and people love him. And it's good to get those West Coast roots really going. And it seems like in this class, in the 2023 class, Sooners have really been making some moves out in the California and Nevada region, which is a hotbed of high school talent out there. You got to keep that connection, that pipeline going. So I think that's all I've got, unless you've got any final things to add or say.
The only thing I wanted to add was on Marvin Jones Jr. His recent visit to Alabama. It seemed like it went well, so that'll be one to look at. I mean, it seems like really it's Oklahoma or Alabama, and he just got named to the All-American Bowl, I believe. So, I mean, this dude's very talented. So he's clearly looking for a place that will compete for titles and will put him in a position to be successful for the future. So at this point, our Jamar Kane, and we'll have to obviously impress him, but the team's got to perform. And I think that will go a long way with him. If it's an Alabama, I would venture to say that if it's Alabama, Oklahoma at all in the playoffs, semis or championship, hopefully it's not Alabama, but if it's kind of going to be the Marvin Jones Bowl, I would I would see him picking whoever wins in that scenario. Which I mean, can't blame the guy, but it'd be great if we could replace Nick Bonito with another top end talent at edge, or I guess right after Clayton Smith and Reggie Grimes.
Yeah, no, and I think in the bye week, the Sooners had some staff go out there and go visit him in person. So, they're making an effort, and I know they're going to probably try to get out there one more time or get him on campus, maybe for the Iowa State game. Uh, just trying to get him back on campus or see him again before the National Signing Day, because I think he's going to sign early, and you gotta make that final push to hopefully close it down, lock it down. But we'll see. So if you made it this far, congratulations. If you hadn't already, hit that subscribe button, turn on the notifications, like and comment. Let us know. Let us know what you think about Barnes, Canoe, McClellan, Marvin Jones too, or any other recruits. Any requests, anything. Let us know. We'll be sure to respond, and we really appreciate it. And help us keep spreading the word and sharing it with your friends and family. Thanks.